Hey, it's that day again. It's the DigiNinja Dealer School, and I am qualified to give you some advice on DigiNinja schooling. And there's one of my technicians you can see right there in the background as we're updating our amazing phone systems and our DigiNinja platform, our DigiNinja Studios. But more qualified than I is Caleb Wilson. Caleb Wilson is a dealer advisor, advises thousands of dealers, has advised thousands of dealers across the country, trained thousands of salespeople, hundreds of managers. Let's bring Caleb on and get right into it.
Hey, good morning.
Caleb Wilson, how's it going up there? You guys in the you're close to Charlotte, right?
Yeah, we're about 15 minutes south of downtown, and we are getting a pretty big storm from the that tropical system coming through. And so we are just and if you hear any background like whistling or anything, it's just beating on the side of the office. But it's so far no damage. We still have power, so
you may have to hunker down in the bunker.
May have to. Good thing we got one.
Yeah. So before you get started, I wanted to talk about a couple of topics and get your opinion on some things. I made a bold prediction yesterday, and I'm going to see if you agree with me. You know, we can't help it. Here we are. We're 6 days from an election, or 5 days, whatever it is, until an election. And a lot of my dealers are pumping the brakes. They don't want to, you know, usually my guys like to get a head start on the month by going ahead and planning that first week. Now, about half of my dealers are doing just that. They're rocking and rolling. They're ready to, you know, Wednesday through next Saturday. I predicted that we're going to have some record-breaking sales because I predict that we're going to keep the president's going to stay in office and that's going to have a positive impact on the car business. We're going to have some record-breaking sales. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I saw your video. And what's funny about that is last night we got an order come in from one of our biggest dealer groups we work with, and they turned the order in for starting Sunday. And I did reach out to them, and you know, I've talked about this before that we're not just in this to take somebody's money. You know, we're in this to help people. So I called them and I said, listen, guys, I said, you're in Florida. It's a Florida dealer, right? And I said, you know, Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania, we don't know. And this is just honesty. We don't know what ad spend's going to look like in those states the next couple of days. You know, we don't know.
Right.
We don't know in the battleground states what you know, what kind of impact we can get through, what kind of message we can get through if we're being honest with the client. And I said, listen, I said, if Trump wins, because I mean, I'm a proud Trump supporter and don't shy away from that. But if Trump wins, I feel like a lot of people, you know, because there's really two sides of it. If you're a Trump supporter right now, you're confident that he's going to win, but you're nervous if he doesn't. You're nervous that he may, if he loses, that, you know, especially for the top 1-2%, the tax changes and things that are going to prohibit business, you know, you're a little nervous. If you're a Biden supporter, then you're probably pretty sure he's not going to win. But if he does, you're super excited, right? So regardless of how Tuesday goes, they've already told us they will not give us a winner on Tuesday. They've made that very clear. There will not be a winner announced. However, if it's a landslide, it's going to be hard to hide that. And so what I've told my customers is this. I said, listen, you know this. You can't control any of those things. But what you can control is attitude. And what you can control is action. And you'll know that if you book an event with us, that there will be 50 plus people working as hard as they can to set appointments for your dealership and to bring people in while your current staff is in the store huddled up, talking, worried, complaining. And not only that, it's the first of the month. So they're going to be pushing hard till Saturday, putting every deal together they can, and they're going to have nothing really to work the first couple of days of the month anyway. So you could really set yourself up for failure if you don't do something to generate opportunities. So with all that being said, and just my thoughts, that's kind of my rationale behind what I'm telling people. What I have said is this: let's start your event normal on Sunday. If we get to Monday afternoon and we feel like in certain states that we're going to have a challenge, then we'll have a phone call, we'll have a conversation about it, and we may need to adjust it another week. If you're in states that are not battlegrounds and people are, like if you're in South Carolina, that is 100% going to be a Trump state, then there's nothing to worry about. People are going to be excited. They're going to be super relieved and pumped up. Georgia. They're going to be super excited, pumped up, and they're going to come out, spend money, and ready to buy a new vehicle. So
they say that could be close. They say that could be very close to Georgia.
Well, I think you're going to be okay. I'll tell you one thing: South Carolina is not going to be close. So we're going to be all Trump state, and so I mean, so what I'm saying is if you're in a state that, even if it's let's say you're in a Biden state and you're a customer of ours, if you're in New Jersey, like we have an event going on in New Jersey right now, and that's always traditionally went blue. So what? Like, your event can be great because your people that live in your area are still getting what they want. So their mood's still good. Their attitude's still good. They're still going to show up. What's funny on that page though, Billy, is that we're getting nonstop messages coming in. They're like, Trump 2020, it's like, you think the people there, what you hear on the news, but if you look in our messenger, we're not even asking them to say that. And they're, they're commenting back in New Jersey in some of the biggest areas in New Jersey, they're red areas. So the reality of it is this: you can only control attitude, effort, and we're going to put forth a great attitude. We're going to give 100% effort. So using us, like next week, you're going to have a lot better impact at your dealership than if you don't. Right. And that's really all I can say about it. I think it's going to be great. Yeah. But
that's my prediction. I could be wrong, but here's the thing: if I am wrong, we're going to sell cars. The guys who are here's a fact. If indeed Biden wins, we're still going to have a great event next week, because obviously that means more people, will be excited than disappointed. So those people are going to be, buying cars. So regardless of which way it goes, car business will go on strong. In 2007, after was it 8 years of George W. Bush, that was I was doing a mail event at a Ford store, and right before the election is when everything started crashing. Yeah. And one of the candidates went back. He was a senator. What's the guy's name who died?
McCain.
He came off of and went back to Washington to try to help the whole situation. And I don't know who helped or who hurt, but I know that during my event, the banks absolutely stopped lending money. So we had all this money spent on on this big mail campaign. The bank said, nope, we're not lending any money. But, so that was a horrible sale. But then a couple months later, business started. It didn't shoot up like a rocket. And we had 8 years of Obama. Guess what we did during that? We sold cars. You know what I'm saying? We're going to sell cars, and you have to be proactive. The guys who retract and sit on the sidelines, if you're sitting on the sidelines till after this election, your competition that is doing business, they're going to be ahead of you. Maybe you can catch them, but I'm telling you, man, now's not the time to retreat.
I agree. It is and that was a bad time. I remember it. I remember being in an empty showroom watching the news and not being, not having the maturity that maybe we have now. 12 years ago was a long time ago, and allowing our minds not to be strong and allowing ourselves to buy into that stuff. And I think that I know that a lot of people are in that same mindset now. I know that those challenges there. And that's funny. That's what me and Smith were talking about before you came on, about these shows. And I told him, I said, listen, I'm not a great self-promoter. It's me and you, it's never been my thing. I've always tried to just generate opportunities in business and help us grow. And you took the point of promoting, and everybody has their strengths, and that's not one of mine. So I was telling him, though, I said, I don't mind taking this time each week, because when I was really at the bottom and I was running the dealership, it was I don't want to say it was an impossible situation, because if I was there now, I would do things different. But it was a Mitsubishi store, and it was a tough situation. And in that store, when I was first hired there, they had been averaging 30 cars a month and losing money for 2 years. In my first month at the store, we sold 110 cars, and the store made more money in 1 month than it had made in the prior 3 to 4 years of profit. And the next month I did the same thing. And then the third month, the comptroller of the big dealer group basically said none of the numbers made sense. The if you tried to manage that store by a composite, that I was doing everything wrong. And if I had all these things in these guidelines, then the store would make, $200,000 a month instead of $100,000. But he didn't understand that store could never be operated as a normal store. So we started operating it under his guidelines because he owned the store, and I had to do what I was told to do at that point in time because of fear, and because of fear of paycheck, fear of stability. And I did not have power to control my situation there because I didn't know how to. I didn't know that I could have the power to control it. And I let that company tell me how to run my business and control me. And I failed and failed and failed and failed to the point where you become depressed. No one, if you work for somebody you really care about, you don't want to let them down every month and have to go look them in the eye and say, hey, I'm sorry, I lost money again. But you can't say I lost money because I did it the way you wanted. If you let me do it the way I know how to do it, and so I was young. I mean, and just that was hard. So during that time is when I would go to YouTube and look for inspiration. I go to YouTube and look for motivational stuff, look for things that could help me. And I come across a old speech from Og Mandino, and Og was it was like a 1-hour YouTube thing with several parts, and that brought me out of that gutter, and it put me back on the right path. Was able to turn that store around and then leave that store for better opportunities, all from a 1-hour YouTube video. So if maybe someone's in that situation and they come across Billy, one of our conversations, and it can change and help that person, then it's worth it to me. Then it makes it all worth it.
100%. So let's do just that. Let's give someone the opportunity to empower themselves, because you can take control of your financial situation. You can take control of your future. Okay. And you have to be properly educated. So what can we do, Caleb? Give us some, I'm sure maybe you have an outline. What do you want to talk about today that can actually improve someone's future?
Okay. Yeah. So what I'll talk about today is creating power and stability for yourself by learning to keep people dependent on you. Okay. So that's what I want to talk about today. And you can cut, you may have to break in some, because I actually, I always try to do an outline. So I had some stories and things. But I believe that the ultimate power in life and business is having the ability to get people to do things for you without using force. And I think, that's where that power comes from. And the stability part is, being able to maintain your independence. But to do that, you always have to be needed and wanted. And the more you're relied upon, the more freedom you have. And that's what I didn't have before, is I did not have that freedom because I did not create the reliance upon myself, because I didn't know how to do it. So I thought, what better way than to talk about that today and maybe teach some guys some things they could do to create that ability to have that power. So one thing in my office, if you come in, you'll notice there's no TVs, and that's because I try not to have access to just negative stuff all day. But I like to read a lot, and my bookshelves are full of things. And I think a man, and we become domesticated, right? And I know you. One of my favorite stories about you, Billy, was when I first met you with Derek, and you were doing jujitsu, but your trainer was YouTube. That you watched all kinds of YouTube videos on jiu-jitsu and then went and won a meet, and Derek was telling me about that. I thought that was really cool. Because men like to be primal in a sort, and we don't get to do that really anymore, because we've been domesticated. But, I think we talk about the battles of life, and that, everything we do can still be looked at in a militaristic or a battle type format. And, what better way to describe a general manager or even a salesperson? This is more general manager geared usually when I'm talking, but what better way to describe them than as a mercenary? Because they're brought into a battle by a king who owns the land. They're hired to fight for that king and to win that battle. and to win that battle in that store. So, I think if you think about it like that, you'll see that it is true. But, one thing about being a mercenary, for someone is you've got to become so powerful that they cannot live without you. So there's a story about that where in the 1400s in Venice, they were at war with Florence, and they brought in a mercenary leader. And that guy come in, and he ended up winning the battle for them. Well, he won the battle, and all the people praised him more so than the king. And for years went by, and they praised him. He became, he became someone that they almost worshipped as saving them, giving them independence, giving them prosperity, because he went on to lead them in other things besides battle. He went on to lead them in other matters of the state. And it come to a point where the king invited him to a dinner one night. And as he was going to that dinner, he realized that he was going the wrong way. And he was walked across a bridge that he knew led to a dungeon. And they took him in, they prosecuted him with no trial, and they beheaded him because the king realized he could hire a younger, stronger mercenary to come in and do the same job because he had not made himself where he could not be replaced. All right. And that is the fate of someone who does not learn how to become so unique and so dependent upon that they cannot find a replacement for them. And a second story to that is King Louis the 11th, I think they called him the Spider King. He was really big into astronomy, and he had a lot of astronomers that he kept in his court. And so he would always study the stars, and he would ask them questions. Well, one guy in the court told him, Billy, he said that a woman that the king liked was going to die in 8 days. So 8 days goes by, and the woman dies. And King Louis says, well, he doesn't know if the guy was just right or did he kill her. But either way, the guy was dangerous, because if he was right, he thought he was some kind of demon, and if he was wrong, but he killed her, he was too dangerous to have around. So King Louis invited him up to his room, and he told all the guards, he said, when I give the signal, the signal, I want you guys to grab him and throw him out the window and kill him. So the guy comes up the stairs, and King Louis asked him, he said, he started to give the signal, but first he said, I'm going to ask you a question. He said, if you know so much, when will you die? And he said, I will die 3 days before you do. Well, he never gave the signal. He never gave the signal to kill him. And he ended up keeping the man in the court. He lavished him with gifts. He took care of him. And the man actually lived about 4 years after King Louis died, but he was rewarded and taken care of for the rest of his life because he wasn't sure if he could live without him or not.
Yeah.
And that's just two sides of one guy who knew what to say, one guy that knew how to operate, who was then given security, stability, and power, and another guy who was powerful and knew how to do something, but he did not know how to make himself where he could not be replaced in any way, right? So that's what I was going to kind of talk about, is how do you become the guy? How do you become that astrologer? And how do you keep from becoming the mercenary that had his head chopped off, right? So one more, and then I'll get into it, was everyone knows Michelangelo, the artist, not the Ninja Turtle. And he was commissioned to build Pope Julius II. He was commissioned to build his tomb. And they got in an argument, about it. And Michelangelo said, listen, you can't find anyone as good as me, but I can find plenty of people to build this tomb for. And he knew that Michelangelo was right, and he doubled the pay. He did everything he could to keep him there, because he knew that without getting rid of him would cause him not to be able to have something that he wanted to have, and there was no way he could replace it. So that, just like I said, that just goes back to what I was talking about, that just, the ultimate power comes from being able to get what you want to have without forcing people to do stuff. And then as a general manager, how do we do that? And what Michelangelo said is that if you lack the talent to be unreplaceable, then you better not lack the skills to be irreplaceable. And so while you can't maybe learn talent, Billy, you can learn skills. And so, so that's what, like I said, I had some skills laid out to give GMs, but you got any comments on just that and in general, just what we're talking about, just how a general manager, can play into that?
Absolutely. And, I think that there's definitely levels to this. What you're talking about is leadership. If you can add enough value to the people that you are leading, or that if you can get results, you and I both have went into these dealerships, taken over underperforming stores and made them overperforming stores. And, sometimes, just like you, Caleb, you were at that wrong store. If you build a legacy, even, or, if you have a reputation for taking stores to another level, and if you have, this is one thing that's maybe a little deeper, or maybe just a different way of making yourself irreplaceable. It's very hard to duplicate in someone all the skills and the tools that you have. But if you go into, and I've seen you do it, I've seen you in person, give your staff, give the salespeople everything that you have. So basically you're giving them all of your secrets. You're actually providing them with the tool and the specialized knowledge to actually replace you,
Right.
Very rarely do they do it. But, and in doing that, though, if you're able to duplicate in others, maybe up to 70, 80% of what you can do, sometimes what happens is you'll build and train your replacement. But what that does, you'll leave that Mitsubishi store and end up at a Toyota store. So, I don't want to send the wrong message to people, because what you're saying is not a fear mentality. It's not, hey, I'm irreplaceable, you can't replace me. The reason you're not replaceable is because you're going to give everything you have and train those people to give them everything that they have, where they could actually, if they would put in the 10X action, if they'll read a book a week, they'll study all these things you're talking about. So what you're teaching right now is true leadership of how you can replace yourself. And generally what happens, like you say, they're going to do whatever it takes to keep you if you are that kind of leader.
Right. And that's what I was going to say, is just that, we want to train people to be our replacements, what we always say. But it's just like people who want to run their own Facebook events, they always call us back because they don't want to actually do the work. They don't realize how hard the work is. So I got one more. I got another story. You made me think about something right there. So we had a meeting with my team leaders. I have some amazing team leaders. Some of them have been with me a really long time. And I asked every one of them, I said, because, we just hired a new performance manager and we're growing very fast. I said, guys, there's nothing more I would want than one of you to be my performance manager. So let me ask you a question. If you could, if I told you I would give you $1 million, if you worked 90 hours a week for 365 days, would you do it? Would you do that? Absolutely. Yes. About 6 of them in the room. Everybody, yes, we would do that. I said, so I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm telling you, if you'll work 60 hours a week, and I mean really, really work 60 hours a week, that somebody in this room could have $1 million. And maybe it was, I stuck to the 90. I'm sorry. I said, if you will work 90 hours a week, there's no way you won't have $1 million at the end. There's no way you won't have it. So, but let's start with baby steps. Let's do 60 hours a week. Give me 100% for 60 hours. And, we got into probably week 12. We had another meeting, and I said, they're doing a fantastic job now, but we're talking about the difference between, being a level 9 and being a level 10, that one, you might be 70% better off. You might be working 70% harder, and you may be 70% more effective, or you may be more effective than 70% of your peers. But if you want to be at that 1%, you got to give 100% at least for 60 hours a week. And after some serious
self-evaluation, everyone agreed, you know what? I have not given you 100% all 60 hours for the last 12 weeks. I said,
Right.
here's why. So I'm not mad at you about it. Here's why. I just wanted you to see just how important it was. And I wanted you to see just how hard this is. I didn't say it was going to be easy. We're not just punching a time card. We have to produce, to really focus for 60 hours every single week for 12 weeks is hard to do. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's hard to stay committed and stick with it. So, so talking about that, one thing that'll separate a general manager is knowing ways to sell cars in a bad time. And so this week I was talking to one of my good friends, clients, and he said, hey man, I'm having a tough month. I'm a few things behind, a few units behind. What can I do? And I said, well, I'll send you some ideas of things you can do. And I'm just going to share those ideas here. I said, but it's too late to advertise out of it. There's 5 days to go. It's too late that you can't advertise your way out of it. So you have to work your way out of it. And so I gave him 5 things. Here's 5 things you can do right now to save your month, to get those deals. So the first thing is simple, is change what people are being motivated by. So, if you go in and you had that sales meeting this morning, GMs, you said, give me your top 3 deals. Half the people in the room would not have 3 deals right now that they feel like they can put together. If, because I've seen that. I know everybody might have 1 deal working, 2 deals working, but rarely they have 3. And so, a normal day, we would have like a one-on-one. We would try to find that person. We would try to generate that appointment and start cultivating and working that customer and turning that customer into a car deal. Problem is we have 5 days. We don't have time to cultivate. We need it now. And so I told him, I said, change it. And for the rest of the month, the next 5 days, I want you to put the biggest bonus up, bigger than Salesman of the Month, on the most write-ups. I don't care if they have horrible credit. I don't care what the situation is. You want to get every single person on paper. So even the worst salesman who has 5 cars up for the month that knows he's not going to clear his draw, he can get that $1,000, that $1,500 bonus just by writing people up. So he's not depressed. He's not worried. He hasn't given up on the month. He's just like, because a lot of guys, if their draw is, let's say their draw is $1,500 a month and they've sold 5 cars and they know they're not going to even clear the draw, then why are they going to work really hard the next 2 days to put deals together when they can wait and put that deal together next month and actually get paid on that money? So you got to make sure you understand the pay plans in your store. And if it's a draw system, then when it's like this, 5 days to go, you got to shift it. So I told him, I said, make everything about write-ups. I said, then I want you to bonus everybody on $100 for each day for whoever has the lowest credit score, whoever has the most negative equity, trade with the most miles, customer with the most repos, and make it fun, Billy. Things that normally would be negative. You come to the sales desk, they pull the credit, and they say, man, this guy has 3 repos, get him out of here, right? I want them to be excited about that person because I need to keep the mood up. I need to keep the excitement up. And so
I want to do an interview with that guy just to see how he did it. That was pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive, right? I want to see what banks he used so we can get them. But reward that effort instead of tearing that effort down. And you can do that by small bonuses. And that goes back to having the power to get what you want without force. What I want is as many write-ups as possible. That's what I want. How am I going to get that? 2 ways. I can force everyone to do it, or I can make it fun, and I can incentivize the write-up, not the car deal, because the car deal will come if I get the write-ups. The more people I get on paper, the more people I can sell a car to. So I need to quit worrying about what's those 3 deals we can put together right now and just see how many people I can get on paper that I know I can turn into a car deal, and then bonus everyone based on that, on the bad things that we normally would turn away. I want to incentivize those things so that way, because not everyone's going to have bad credit, right? But they're not going to be scared to put somebody on paper. So they may meet somebody on the lot, Billy, and the guy goes, well, man, I'm just looking right now. I've got some credit issues. To me, I'm like, hey, this could be that 380 that's going to win me the money. You know what I mean? So I'm like, hey, come on inside. Let me at least write you up. Let me at least see, because if I'm going to get that $100 or $200 bonus for that lowest credit score of the day, then, hey, you know what? I may not sell a car today, but I'm going to get that money, and that's going to help me, that's going to really help me. So that was step number one.
Got a question about that.
Yeah.
I got a question about step number one. If 12 people show up on the lot today, how many should be written up?
12, 100% write up. It has to be. And that's one of the things that we always talk about committing to is 100% write up. Unfortunately, what we get instead is 100% write up of people logged into the CRM.
That's right. That's right. So I don't want to miss this point, man, because it's such a good point. 100% people need to be getting written up. So right there, if you're behind on cars, I bet you didn't write everybody up. Everybody gets written up.
Right. And that's easy to track, guys. I mean, it's simple. You got to have an up counter almost, because if you just use your CRM, that's just deals you've seen. What I would do is I would write down guy in red hat, old person by front door, whatever, as I was in the showroom through the day. And then the next day, when we had our sales meeting, I would go through those people and we'd try to match them up. And what we would find was that everyone was not being written up. Only people were getting written up were people who thought they might be ready to buy something. So you got to commit to 100% write up, guys. But the way to get 100% write up, like I said, you can beat people into it, Billy. You can yell, scream, write them up, or you can spend $400 a day on the lowest credit score, the highest, the shortest job time, the most repos, the highest miles, the most negative equity, whatever you want. You can write that up and get those write-ups and make it more fun and exciting and change the mindset and get people positive again. And that's what you're going to have. Every salesman in the store and every manager is going to have to be super positive to save your month and turn it around. So that's just a simple way you can do that. So number two is, and this is one that you should do every day but doesn't get done. Most people have two vehicles in their homes. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, most people have two vehicles in their home. It's a rare occasion, guys, that you sell the same family two cars on the same day, because most people are like, let's get one out of the way before we get the other one out of the way. I know that because even right now, I know you just purchased a new truck, and I was buying one as well. And my wife asked yesterday, she's like, well, when am I going to get my new car? I'm like, well, we got to get one done first. The reality is I get both done right now if they just bring them to me. I don't want to deal with this, but no one's brought that idea to me. No one's brought that to me. So another thing you can do right now is you can go through your deal log for the month or from the last 2 months, and simply do this. Focus on the people that can buy first. So I'm going to focus on everyone that has maybe like 650 and higher credit score, my prime customers, 620 and higher. If you're, depending on what kind of store you're in. If I'm in a Honda store, they use TransUnion, I'm going to be a 620. If I'm a domestic store using, depending on what bureau you're using to what your cutoff is. But regardless, I'm going to focus on prime credit, Billy. A couple reasons why. Usually those people are, you can sell them a car right now. You don't have to wait on nothing. You're not going to have to wait on down payment. You're not going to have to wait on anything. And I'm going to call that customer and I'm going to say, Billy, hey, I hope you're enjoying your new vehicle. It's been a month since you purchased. I just want to call and tell you thank you. Or it's been a week or 2 weeks. I was just curious, did you have any other vehicles in your home right now? Maybe your spouse is driving, any children, and have that conversation and just say, hey, Billy, I'm not asking you to buy anything, but would you allow me to put some numbers together for your wife on a new SUV or whatever she's driving? If she's driving a Yukon now, and I sell Fords and I've got Expeditions, I say, hey, Billy, can I at least just put some numbers together and show you how much money you could save? I know she's not in the market. I don't expect you to do anything right now, but can I at least show you what it would look like? And Billy's going to say, yeah. He's going to say, yes. If I call everybody that's bought from me in the last 2 months that has good credit and I offer them a solution, I'm going to find a couple car deals. Okay. And when I get to the end of this, I'll tell you how many cars that dealer sold off the first day of doing these things. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So that's number two. Number three, it's simple, but change every price every day for the next 5 days. And the reason I do that is every CRM is equipped to send a lead or send an email to every customer in the event of a price change. So I know that e-leads, Vin Solutions, every CRM is set up that when a price change happens, an email notification is sent to the customers who inquired on that vehicle. So I can't trust my salespeople and my BDC to do constant follow-up with every lead that we have. But all I have to do is take 20 minutes, make $100 price change on every vehicle, and I will automatically get my system to send that email out and let people know the price has changed, and then see if that generates any interest from customers. And I can do that every day for the next 5 days, just $100 a day. Simple, right? Very simple technique. Number 4, this one takes a little bit of effort, but we're doing it for this dealer. And, and this is your database. I understand you can't bomb your database and you don't want people unsubscribing. But Grant will tell you that when he was first starting on Facebook, and I know you did this a lot, people said, well, Facebook's supposed to be about social. If you post a lot, people are going to unfollow you. People are going to get tired of seeing your stuff. And Grant said, I don't care. I'm just going to 10X it, right? I'm going to post every hour, 24 hours a day. I'm going to post, and I'll get rid of the people who I offend, but I'll pick up all my fans. Well, it's the same way kind of with your store database. You don't want to offend everybody, but every now and then you got to maximize, the potential that's there. I tell people, like, if you're mining for gold and you hit a vein of gold, you don't slow down the mining process. You speed up and get everything out of it you can, and then you go back to looking for another opportunity, another place. So what I did with this dealer is a 5-day email program with his database, where simply we're just honest. The reality of this, he's having a slow month. So why not tell the customers? So my first email was something like this, Billy. Hey, Billy, this is Caleb, the general manager at the store. I'm reaching out to you simply for this reason only. I need to sell 36 more cars by the end of the month. And to do that, I'm going to have to put together some deals I normally couldn't take. I have to hit this number. I'm going to hit this number. But if I'm going to lose money, if I'm going to do deals I normally wouldn't do, I'd rather do it with a current, Billy Merritt Motors family customer. And I like to work with you. I already know what you have. I already have all your information. So if you'd like for me to see what it would look like to trade you up to the same vehicle you're driving now in a newer model, and see if with the new incentives that are going on, if we could lower your payments, just reply back, work me a deal. Just reply back, work me a deal, and I'll personally do it. And I send that email. And then like day 2 yesterday, I wrote back and I listed out the 5 vehicles that we sold the day before off that email, and to let the customers know, hey, 5 of you responded. Here's the entire situation of those 5. Here's what we did for them. And we send that email. And then today we'll send another one with what we sold yesterday. But it's just a 5-day chain, communicating with your customer base, being honest with them, not hokey, not some giant big, it's not, we believe in the big offer, but not really that. Just being honest. Hey, look, I'm trying to hit my goals and I need your help to do it. You're going to get what you want by helping me get what I want. So it's a win-win for everybody. And then the last thing me and him did was we changed the heightened sense of a lead, Billy. We took every sales call and we sent it direct to the sales desk, and that call did not leave the sales desk. So as a general manager, now this is something that required a little force. I had to make my sales management team handle the sales calls, because if the sales manager has somebody on the phone, they don't have to say, let me go get information. They don't have to say, let me get you a price. They can do it right then, and they can handle it. Now, if they would do that 24/7, 365, the store would sell a lot more cars anyway and wouldn't be in that position. But, I understand. They can't do it all the time. That's what they tell me. But every time I struggled, when I changed that, and then as a general manager, I took a few of the sales calls sitting in the sales tower just to make sure they knew that we were all in it together. It changed everything. So that dealer did those 5 things on Monday. He sold 8 cars from those tactics. And I hadn't talked to him this morning to see how yesterday went. But the bottom line is he picked up 8 car deals without spending a single dollar in advertising, just by doing those 5 tactics that we talked about. So my point is when he can do that and the owner sees that, he created a lot of power for himself just in being able to know, having the knowledge, the specialized knowledge to save his month without asking the guy to spend more money.
Yeah. And you know what? That last step is probably, in my opinion, the most powerful. I'd be curious to know how that broke down. But, if you're, let's face it, you have to be honest. If you're in charge as general manager or the sales manager, okay, sales manager, if you're in charge of sales and you haven't hit your number, that means you haven't made enough sales. So of course you have time to take every sales call.
Right.
That's the most important thing you could be doing, is taking every sales call. When you're selling so many cars, so we're selling the 8th car and a sales call comes in. Okay, maybe I can't do it right now, but nothing is more important when you're the sales manager than sales. So, one of my videos from years ago, I said, sales managers, get off your butts. And this is taking sales calls is getting off your butt. You have to be able to talk to the people you're trying to sell. Nothing's more important. I don't care what the general manager is saying about the budget. I don't care what they saying about the schedule. I don't care. You are probably working bell to bell anyway.
Right.
If you're going to be away from your family, bell to bell, be on that sales call.
Yeah. And that's what it's about, man. And that's, it's just action, but these are things that create action. That are easy, that anybody can put in place without having to go ask for help or do anything. These are just actionable things you can do to fix your month, to fix your month and start selling cars right now. And it's all about changing mindset, keeping people positive, just having that shift, that culture shift. That's what makes these things happen. But if you don't know how to do it and you just get everybody together and you're like, rah, 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 let's go sell cars, you're not going to get it done. So you got to have some practical steps you can put in place to make it happen. But those are the things that I talked about. And I know it's simple, but those 5 things, if you go back and like I said, if you go back and listen to that, or if you write it down, I know, like I said, that dealer sold 8. Let's say he sells 5 the next day and 5 the rest of the week. If he sells 32 cars off of a free campaign, well, that also makes me valuable to him. Right. So it's a symbiotic relationship of we need each other and we got to help each other.
Yes. So it is simple, but it works. It sold 8 cars that they wouldn't have sold. How many would they have sold? I don't know, but they sold 8, right? So
in addition to their normal day, you know what I mean? It wasn't, they picked up 8 units in addition to their normal day,
Right. And that's true leadership. And I'm going to talk to the sales managers really quick. You need to be on every sales call. You need to make sure you're off your butt and you're out there touching every customer, doing that early management touch. It's called EMT, early management touch. You got to be there. Let them know you care. Let them know that you're
on every sales call.
Oh, there's a little.
It's my fault.
Okay.
It's my fault. No, I was trying to read the comments and my phone started playing. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. But you have to, as a sales manager, you have to let these customers know that you're there and that they are the priority, that you're worried about them, worried about helping solve their problems. That early management touch is going to do that. Taking that sales call. Here's what it's also doing, though. You are building tremendous goodwill between you and your salespeople. When your salespeople see you taking that sales call, and they listen to you, they're learning. That's a training opportunity. And then they see you coming out and touching their customer. You're building goodwill. When you come in and close their deal and you help make them money, when you implement these bonuses and you make it fun, you're building goodwill with your salespeople. And let me tell you something. If you've got 10 or 15 or 20 salespeople that believe in you, that want you, that know that you're going to make them money, because listen, that's why they're there. If they know that you're going to make them money, they're going to be coming to you. You're going to be working all their deals. They're going to be learning from you. That's even more job security. I mean, my sales team that's selling events to car dealers are the same people I recruited to sell cars in town. They know that if they're working with me, I'm going to make their financial situation better. That means,
That's right.
that builds loyalty, and that builds, I don't know what the word is, irreplaceability. If you're the guy who makes the salespeople money, they're going to make sure you had that job.
That's right. They're not going to stab you in the back. They're not going to be trying to get you out of there. They're not going to go even talking behind your back. And look, you're going to have that anywhere you are, guys. You're going to have people who you remind of the situation they're in, and that they gave up on their life and they're mad at you for having success. And you're going to deal with that in any position throughout the store, because a lot of salespeople are guys that, maybe they used to do a role, or they've been waiting on an opportunity and they feel like time passed them by. So you're going to have to deal with all that, but you can't worry about it. A good friend of mine this week told me, Billy, he said, Caleb, he said, don't ever worry about what people are saying about you if you would not ask those people for advice on important things in your life.
Absolutely.
And I was like, man, and I'm sure I've read that 100 times, but it really hit me because it's like, if I, I would call you, Billy, and ask important advice. And if you were saying stuff about me, like, man, Caleb needs to be doing this, this, or the other, I'd listen because I know that you have value in what you're saying to me. But if someone else is talking bad about me or you, and that's not somebody I even know or just don't have a relationship with, then why am I going to let that ruin my day when their opinion don't matter to me?
Absolutely. So, and you, man, you're telling the story about when you were at the Mitsubishi store. What you've done with you, because you're hungry, is you've reached out and you found those people and you grew. And I consider myself a growth aspirant. I want to grow. Yesterday on the show with April, we talked about, we were talking about growth and improving ourselves. And we were being funny about, I said, I made the statement that I had really helped her and I could help her get to the next level. But she gave me a hard time because she's seen me back. She was with me before I wasn't near the leader that I am now. I wasn't near the husband. We grow and we learn. And she's grown tremendously because there's a time when she's like you. She's just not she doesn't do this for the fun of it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. She does because she knows it can help people and it can inspire people. And she's grown and she's such a better host and co-host. And she is, women tend to get in their feelings a lot. And in the past, if somebody had talked negatively about her, that would have been either it would have made her feel bad or either got her mad, one or the other. Yeah. So the people we were laughing. We were laughing about the negative comments that these people that with 3 friends have and make. So it's all about growth. And that's why we do this show, is to help you salespeople. Because and I tell my salespeople, I said, when you're talking and you're building your network, build it with salespeople, because the salespeople of today are the sales managers and general managers of tomorrow. And they're so build it and put in that long approach of building a network of people who can add value, not just put you down or not be negative, man. We don't have time for negative people. If you're okay with it, I want to talk about something that's fun or funny, entertaining, and serious at the same time. Okay. Because we're in the podcast business. I'm a podcaster. I'm growing. I know I'm not a great one yet, but we're getting there. We're growing, and we're showing you the journey. And Caleb, we have they brought in the studio, and you can see the technician walking around. But this studio, Smith has he's grown some kahunas, because he is not scared to ask for expensive stuff. Foam walls. Tell us what we got, Smith. Tell us what do we get? What's coming?
What we got?
We got studio foam we're going to put up on the walls, obviously, to deaden all this outside noise, to get us some better acoustics. We still got to find a TV that's going to ship within the time we want it to.
It's on the way.
It's already on the way?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Not a TV. I'm talking about 6 screens with this like behind the same thing you see behind Grant. And when they do their show, it's the same deal.
Yeah, so we're going to have a processor. This thing was probably the most expensive, but this is going to let us split the TV basically any way we want. 3x3, 2x2, 3x2, whatever you want it to look like, we can do it. We can turn it off. We can loop, if we want something in the background. We've got an awesome computer coming in, a color accurate monitor. So when we're doing design, we're doing video editing. How you see it on that monitor, that's exactly how it's going to look when people see it.
It's going to be a first class. I mean, we already have great production, but it's going to be totally like as good as anything in the country, as good as a Fox News, or as good or better than Joe Rogan's podcast, which is the segue to
I love his new studio.
I do too, man. And
it's the inside of a whale.
Yeah. Did you see Alex Jones on there yesterday?
Hey, I was listening to episode 1555, buddy. I'm watching it right now. I was actually watching it yesterday. It's still on my screen.
Man, I listened to the entire thing. I finished it this morning. And Alex is, good, bad, or indifferent.
I love Alex.
He's predicted some amazing things. Yeah. He's enlightened me on a bunch of things. We might get this kicked off Facebook for even saying anything.
Hey, Alex has changed my life as much as Grant has. In regards to, Alex woke me up from so much stuff that I didn't know. over the last 10 years of listening to Alex. And you know what? I've been supporting Alex. I mean, it's $4.95 a month. I've been paying it for 10 years. You know, I throw that little extra money in there to keep stuff I want. But no, Alex has changed my life as much as Grant has in regards to, you know, Grant helped my career in sales. Alex helped me understand what is happening with my life, with my children, with our country. And, you know, people, I mean, I've been called as crazy as many times as he has, so I don't worry about it, you know.
Well, you know, I'm sure you noticed right from the beginning, they were fact checking everything.
Yeah,
and
he was right.
And he made a big statement that that the UN admitted that 100% of the vaccines given in one of the trials
don't work.
No, it made them sick. 100%.
It made everybody sick. They don't work and they make you sick and kill you. Yeah.
They didn't believe him. And they fact checked it. Now, Joe Rogan, hats off to that guy because he put it on his Instagram this morning. He put the video with Bill Gates getting grilled by the I think it might have been CBS or ABC. I'm not sure. I can't believe they actually grilled him, but he was stuttering all that. And he had to sit there and admit that the vaccines that made 100% of them sick. And Joe was bold enough to put that on his Instagram. And I think it had 3 million views already or something.
Good. Yeah. Alex is, you know, I have a son that has vaccine damage and, you know, and it's kind of me and my wife thought about it, you know, because I'm sitting there, you know, she wasn't really tuned into everything. And whether you're pro or negative vaccine, this is a real story. So, you know, I'm sitting there going like, let's not do this. Let's not do this. Let's not do this. And, you know, and she feels pressured. She's like, well, you know, all the other moms are telling me to do this. The doctors are telling me to do this, you know, and so she does it, you know, we do it. And then my son doesn't talk for 3 years. And so you know, obviously our next two didn't get any, you know what I mean? Like we stopped that, but you know, it's hard for, a mom to admit that, with these vaccines, it's hard for a mom to admit that they were, I don't want to say chump, but that they were, you know, misled. And so oftentimes they'll just keep doing it, you know, instead of just saying, hey, you know, I should stop doing this, or this isn't safe. And, you know, and about that, like, you know, you talk about the boldness of Joe Rogan. Billy, you can walk into a Publix and ask for a copy of the flu vaccine insert, and they'll hand you a paper explaining everything. But they have to legally give you the insert, and you ask for that insert, and it's about the size of a piece of poster board when you unfold it, and you'll see in there the same thing, that 100% ineffective, and it'll list all the damages that have happened to people, you know, and the percentages and possibilities of having it from having that vaccine. And doesn't mean that, like I said, everyone's entitled to do whatever they want to do.
And we're not promoting. We're not promoting.
I'm not trying to
whatsoever. We're having a conversation, telling a story about a person.
My son that was injured, and there's no denying it. And then myself, you know, when you remember H1N1, Billy, when H1N1 was a big deal. Okay. Yep. I went to the doctor. I was in the car business, and I went to the doctor to get the H1N1 vaccine because I thought I had to have it, Billy. Well, they were out of them. They were out of the vaccine. And the doctor, he said, well, Caleb, I'll give you a flu shot and a tetanus shot. He said, it's basically the same thing. He said, I'll give you both those. So I took them. I was sick for 3 days, and I couldn't stand up. I couldn't walk. And now even, I have a degenerative nerve disorder where my nerve endings are degenerating in my hands and my feet. And some days I can't hardly walk, and some days I'm fine. But, we go to Disney World, I have to get a wheelchair. I can't stand on concrete for long amounts of time. It's completely hurt my quality of life. And I went to 12 different neurologists until a lady from Sweden come in Charlotte. She was new, and I seen her, and she told me exactly what it was. She said, you were damaged from the overload in that vaccine of having those 2 shots at one time. And she said, and the only way you're ever going to feel any better is you can take an antidepressant, which would basically trick my mind into telling me it was Lyrica was the antidepressant. You can trick your mind into telling you don't hurt no more, which I'm not going to do because the only way we make a living is our brain. You know what I mean? I can't throttle my brain back. Or 2, I could try to eliminate everything chemical from my diet, have the metal fillings taken out of my teeth, to completely clean everything, and see if that gives me any relief. But I've been on the medication, for almost 10 years now to try to help with the symptoms, treat the symptoms. But I'll come from that. And, and if I had just listened to Alex, 10 years earlier, then maybe I wouldn't be going through all the pain I go through in my life every day. And so all that aside, that's two real stories that are, I'm not making them up. You know what I mean? That's real life, real stories that Alex has kept me from having the rest of my kids go through or potentially go through. And I'm not ashamed of that, and like I said, but everyone has to make their own choices. It's like anything else in life. You can choose to believe in heaven or hell and go where you want to go. I mean, it's a choice, do what you want to do.
It's a free country. It's supposed to be. And, the one agenda that I am promoting, that I will stand firmly on, is freedom of speech. So I hope they don't take us down, but they've taken down, legitimate, the oldest newspaper in the country. They took down their articles. They took down the White House press secretary, disabled the White House press secretaries. Was it press secretary? I think I'm correct.
Yeah. Did you see just now or overnight, they were FedExing all the phones from Bobulinski was FedExing they were sending all the phones from New York to LA, and in the airplane, the package was open and the contents were destroyed, but no one knows who did it.
Yeah, but
I
I do want to talk about this, man, because we joked about it. I've joked about it for years, but it's never been more clear that the networks are absolutely. I don't care if you are pro Biden, good for you. I support you, and you're right to say whatever. But the networks are 100% anti-Trump. They would not even talk about Bobulinski. I mean, they wouldn't even bring it up. Only one network, Tucker Carlson, was the only person that would even do an interview. He just wanted to tell a story because they were bashing him, saying that he was tied in with the Russians and the Chinese. He said, look, I just want to tell my story. They wouldn't let him do it. So, the fact that NBC, and we're probably going to get banned for even saying this. I'm just telling a story, telling my opinion. The fact that NBC, ABC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, none of them would even cover the story of the man who said he has evidence that he was in business with the Bidens and that they were trying to. That's just crazy, man.
It's scary. It's scary that that's our country now, and it's scary that, unfortunately, people who have not discovered Alex, or people that have not discovered what other people who can show them facts and wake them up. It's like you have to shake people. Wake them up, and unfortunately, they believe this stuff. My father-in-law just died of COVID. Well, he died of double pneumonia. He had leukemia. He had double pneumonia. He was overweight. He was 77 years old, and he got COVID and died. So he died from, multiple things. Of course, COVID was on the death certificate, right?
Yeah.
Pro-Trump supporter, Republican his whole life. But because of what you're seeing on the news, when we called him at the hospital before he died, he said, I'm going to die, and it's all Trump's fault for not wearing his mask. And I'm like, what in the world are you talking about? Well, we're laughing. I mean, I was like, me and Shane were laughing about it. But really, he believed that. You know what I mean? Like, he's sitting in there and he dies, and he's believing because of the news that it's the president's fault that he died. So, I mean, it's unfortunate, man. It's unfortunate, and that's why freedom of speech is so important, so that we're not all just, saying the same thing. It's not 1984. It's not controlled speech. We got to have freedom. We got to be able to say what we want to say.
And you look, man, I have some people that they're Facebook friends of mine. They're real people that have commented, and like disagreed with me and made a statement, and I welcome that. I'm not going to unfriend you. I don't want to be in an echo chamber where everybody agrees with me. You and I agree on most things, but when we disagree, we talk about it. You got to be able to express your views and put them out there, to be evaluated and to be scrutinized. Of course, we're talking about Alex Jones. He's made some horrible mistakes that he agrees publicly. You know what? I screwed up on that. I drank too much liquor. He's open about his flaws when you know what I'm saying? He's open about his flaws. And so and he says some crazy stuff that maybe that's too wacky. Even that's okay. We need to see that. We need to evaluate and scrutinize that where we can talk about it, not deplatform and and just.
My thing is about him is when the whole news media, like you said, won't cover anything, and this guy's getting taken down from everywhere he wants to talk at, then somebody don't want somebody to hear what he's saying.
Absolutely.
And so it's like, not comparing him to Jesus, but they didn't want his message out, so they crucified him, right? I mean, it's the same it's the same thing in regards to controlling information.
Well, if they will not cover the Bobolinsky story, I hope I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
Then that lets you know they know that will help Trump and hurt who they want. This plain and simple.
Yeah,
that
right.
People in charge of the networks want Biden to win, and that's
right.
fine. But it's not. Just makes it it's not real. It's not real journalism. It is fake news.
It's fake news. Yeah. So
it really. We got any comments we can end with? Maybe somebody's on here, telling us how stupid we are. I'm okay with that. I'll listen.
Tim McCarr actually said the media has become a weapon used against our nation.
You know what? I didn't believe that a year ago. A year ago, I did not believe that. People
argued about that. That's where me and you were different a year ago.
I did not believe that it was that it was that drastic. That it really was. That they really are. Oh, we're going to get banned. They really are the enemy of the people. That I thought, sure, they're slanted, sure, they're biased, but they're just doing what they think is. They still think that they're doing fair journalism. They 100% know that they're fake.
It was easy for a long time to think that it was just because they were surrounded with people who agree with them, but
they were in their echo chamber.
Right, but it's just so blatant.
It's blatant. It's obvious. They are absolutely using it against the people. They really are.
Robert Brooker said, "This is the observation visible from here," and he's in Canada.
I'm glad that we didn't offend Robert. And if you disagree with us, Robert, please hang around, man. We'll listen to you. We'll listen to anybody's viewpoint, and we can make our decisions.
Well, you talk about free speech in Canada, where Robert's at. You can't read portions of the King James Bible in Canada out loud. Yeah. Seriously, there's parts of the Bible that God wrote that you cannot read out loud in the King James Version in Canada. That's a fact. Like I said, you can fact check that. It's true. It's considered hate speech.
Wow.
I believe it. This is from earlier, but he also said that is very true. It took me until 42 to understand that what people that don't like me think of me is none of my business.
There you go. That's right. We all need to be able to live in spite of the good opinion of others.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be liked. Everybody wants to be. Nobody wants to be, talked bad about or hurt. Nobody wants that. But you have to learn. It's a tough lesson sometimes. You got to just learn that whose opinion really matters. Who, and then be big enough to deal with it. Because very few people are going to come up, Billy, and just punch you in the face. Okay, so and if they want to do that, that's fine, and no problem.
I'd rather it be that way because, when you're taking away people's right to free speech and you're just deplatforming them. One of the guys, the funniest thing I saw, it was on Twitter. And I spend too much time on Twitter, but at least sometimes you can find some thought-provoking tweets. And I love following some of, our commander-in-chief because he is hilarious on there. But anyway, one of the people they were tagging Spotify, who Joe Rogan signed a 100 allegedly, it's out there, $100 million deal with Spotify. That's how powerful that guy's audience is, how big his audience is. So, but he was getting just roasted by people who wanted to see, or who were happy that Alex Jones got deplatformed. He was so happy. They were so happy. So they were tagging Spotify in there. They were tagging Spotify, WTF Spotify, trying to get Joe taken down. So far, they've supported him.
Yeah, they're not going to let him walk away.
Until
that's a perfect example, though, Billy, of a guy having so much power that that they can't live without him, like we were talking about today. So he can do what he wants to do, because without him, they're going to have the risk of losing a lot of money, and they can't afford to lose him. So he can do things. He has true power in his
Yes.
situation.
He does. And so let me use Joe as an example, because he is one of this. Everything that you see here is exactly what Joe uses in his studio. I wanted the best of the best, and he's the best podcaster, usually number one. We're talking about this is how much things have changed. We're talking about a very liberal man. We're talking about someone who has claimed, and still to this day will say he is liberal. He's always been very close with the Democratic Party and very fond of the views and policies of the Democratic Party until recently. And thank God that's someone who's at least open-minded enough to understand that it's going entirely too far. The man had mansions in Beverly Hills and has moved to Austin, Texas to get away from the madness of the far left.
That's right. He had enough of it. He got out of it, so he had all he could take.
He can't take. The funniest thing I saw, and it'd be normal for us, but when one of what's the guy's name, Smith, that brought him the gun, that gave him the gun on he's another Texan I think he's a Texas. I think he might have been like a special forces guy, but he's been on the podcast quite a bit, and he showed up in Texas. So he brought Jamie and Joe Rogan a firearm and gave it to him. So that's pretty cool. Hey, we're making a difference. As long as we can leave the California policies in California, then all the people that want to get out of there should get out of there.
So,
Yep.
well, not to get off, but I have to. I got an appointment, but no, man. I mean, I appreciate you. I appreciate the opportunity to get on every week and share. Like I said, if hopefully we can make an impact and help somebody. And that's what we're trying to do.
We're already helping people, man. I have people all the time say, I love when Caleb's on there. It's so funny to me. I know you got an appointment, but I love it when people say, man, I really like that show with Caleb. Man, I really like that show with April. And then they name the different people. So we're going to bring people. We're going to bring guests every day. This is the Billy Merritt show, to just put it plain. This is my show. So please don't mistake any of this for, if I say something stupid, don't hold it against my people. Don't hold it against Caleb. Hold it against me. And we'll be back next Thursday with another edition of the DigiNinja Dealer Academy. Thanks, Caleb.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.